Good morning students. Today we are going to have our third video lesson of Social Studies class 4. We will complete chapter number 1 today, which is globes and maps. The information given on page number 3 of the book will be discussed. The time duration of today's lesson is 35 minutes and the resources required for today's lesson are Smart Social Studies book 4 and pencils. Now let's review the objectives of the day. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explore the word topography, identify features and use of topographic maps, identify the features of political maps. Let's review the type of maps we studied in the previous lesson before we move forward. What is the use of a climatic map? Yes, it is used to know the climatic conditions of an area, which helps people to plan out different activities. What is an economic map? It is a map that shows different economic activities taking place in an area. What is a road map? A road map shows the roads, highways, and railways of an area. Well done students, you remember what we studied before. Now let's move forward. Identify different maps and think of their features. Let's see the first map of today. Yes, it's a topographic map. What are these lines on this map? These are contour lines. Now what are contour lines? The contour lines basically show the elevation of a place. What is elevation? Elevation of the height of a place from ground or sea level. So these contour lines tell us how high a place is. Let's get a few more facts about topographic maps. Topography is the study of land surface. A topographic map is a representation of a 3D surface on a flat piece of paper. Contour lines join points of equal elevation. The closer together the contour lines appear on a topographic map, the steeper the slope. These maps have a variety of uses, from planning the best route for a hike to determining a location for a school or an airport. Now let's watch a video to understand topographic maps.
We're going to actually build a mountain so that we can create a topographical map so students understand how these maps can create or show three-dimensional elevations. Okay, the main thing I want to do when I'm creating my mountain to represent the map that we're going to make is I want to make sure that it has different elevations within the mountain itself. I also want to make sure that we have steep areas as well as gradual sloped areas so that we can see how those will appear on a map as we create it. Now one thing I want to make sure I do is I have a higher peak or more than one peak on the mountain that I create, so we can see that the contour line for that particular peak is a complete circle within the center showing the highest elevation. So once we have it molded, we want to make sure that we press it down firmly to the paper. That way it has a tendency not to slide as easily. The next thing we're going to do is take a pretty long piece of dental floss. And the dental floss is what we're going to use to actually cut away our mountain in cross section. Okay, so we just take our dental floss and we just slice it through a cross section of the clay, and we want to make sure that the thickness that we cut the first line through is approximately the same thickness we'll cut every additional line through. So we're going to set this top part aside, and then I want to make sure the students are aware that this side edge is about 100 feet or 50 feet, whatever it is you want to use for your measurement. So every time we make a cut, that's an additional 100 feet in this case that our mountain has been elevated or that we're going up the mountain. So taking a marker or pen, we're going to trace around the outside edge of this first base plate. Now this first base, because students are still trying to understand elevation, let's make sure that we, for this first round, show that this is at 0 feet, which means it's at sea level, basically. So basically this would be a mountain range sitting at the edge of the ocean. And then we're going to take our top piece and set it on top of where we just took our bottom piece off. Now we don't want to destroy these pieces because we're going to actually rebuild our mountain at the end to compare the three-dimensional model to our drawing. So taking our dental floss once again, we're going to slice the same thickness as we did before. So basically we are coming up 100 feet from that original line. Okay? Now because the bottom of this piece matches to the top of the previous piece, this would be 100 feet up from our original drawing. So we have 0 elevation, then the second line that we're drawing right now would be 100 feet higher. Now, of course, if we're in a country outside the United States, these would be measured in the metric system, so in kilometers. Okay, so make sure our line touches. These are going to be our lines that represent the elevation. Now we're going to take our next part and put it back in again. So we're going to repeat the same steps, and we're going to cut it once again. Sometimes it's helpful when you have a second person to kind of hold down to prevent it from sliding. So remember to keep our same thickness that we cut the previous piece to, so that each piece represents a 100-foot elevation. Okay, set this part aside for later, and go ahead and trace out our outline around this. So our first circle was 0 feet, our second one is 100 feet, so this circle now represents 200 feet above sea level. Setting this one aside for later, we're going to take the top part again, set it back into our circle that we just made, and we're going to cut it once again. Now these circles, by the way, are called contour lines. And contour lines basically just say that they follow the topography or the outside edge. Okay, set this top part off again, and let's trace around that one more time. Okay, so our first line would be 0 feet, then our second one was 100, then 200, so now this line represents 300 feet above sea level. Okay, continuing the same steps, continue to put our mountain back in position each time and trim off another layer the same thickness as the first layer that we started with. Set that aside, and let's trace once again. Okay, so this particular line would represent another 100 feet up from our previous line. Continuing the same process, replace our mountain top that we have, put it back into the contour line, and let's trim it again. Okay, repeating the process of tracing once again, this contour line we're going to do in blue, not because it's any different, it's just that my previous pen came in contact with the clay and was not writing as well, so color has no difference here. And we're going to set that one aside and then take our peak and place it in the center. And we're going to go ahead and trace around it. Now, we're not going to cut another section of this because it's approximately the same thickness as all the other pieces we've been using. Okay, setting everything aside, let's go ahead and label the elevation. So our first layer was 0 feet at sea level, then 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet, 500 feet, then finally 600 feet above sea level. Now if we notice, these lines on the sides are really close together. And so these lines represent a steeper angle of our mountain. So the best way to represent this for the student is to rebuild the actual mountain. So remember this, the bottom layer was at 0 feet, so right above it, this part here was 100 feet. This layer would represent 200 feet. And then this next layer, 300 feet. Then 400 feet. 500 feet. And then 600 feet. And we can go ahead and put this peak on. We could have drawn this little part right here.
So, I hope that this drawing of the contour lines must have given you a very clear idea of what contour lines are and how to read a topographic map. Let's move forward. Which type of map is it? Yes, it's a political map because it's showing the borders of Pakistan with different countries. It's also giving an idea of the borders of the provinces of Pakistan. Now, a political map does not show topographic features like mountains. It focuses solely on the state and national boundaries of a place. They also include the location of cities, large and small, depending on the detail of the map. A common type of political map would be one showing the 4 provinces of Pakistan and 2 independent units and their borders along with the Pakistan's international borders. So let's review what we have learned today. What is topography? What are the features of topographic maps? What is the use of topographic maps? What are the features of political maps? Check your answers. What is topography? Topography is the study of the land surface. What are the features of topographic maps? These maps use contour lines to show different elevations. What is the use of topographic maps? These maps have a variety of uses, from planning the best route for a hike to determining a location for a school or an airport. What are the features of political maps? These maps show the boundaries of countries, cities, etc. Great! You have understood the concepts. Now let's practice. You have 10 minutes to do first task, which is to read page number 3 of the textbook. Your task number 2 is completing question number 1 part A and question number 2 in the textbook on page number 5. There is a homework also. You have to complete question number 3 in the textbook on page number 6. This homework is giving you an opportunity to revise all the concepts studied during this chapter. So, we will meet in the next video lesson. Have a good day.